Snow Weathery Ciel isn't great or terrible, but unlike all the other Weathery, this does something by itself. Just by normal summoning it, you get to place any Weathery spell or trap, which right now are only Weathery patterns, but that may change in the future. But if it doesn't change in the future, why did they say Weathery spell or trap and not Weathery pattern?
Who knows?
The point is, it is your play starter. It is the only one that does something by herself, so you want to play
3 of them things?
Rain Weathery Lazula is my favorite Weathery monster because it's blue and blue's my favorite color. But in terms of the effect, it's terrible. Okay, it's not terrible. Maybe that's extreme. But this effect is not going to happen a whole lot. But what this does provide is the ability to place Weathery spell and traps on your opponent's turn. Which won't happen a whole lot, but it's there.
In case shit happens.
Cloudy Weathery Sleet is pretty good because it provides protection against back row removal that isn't named Cosmic Cyclone or anything that doesn't destroy. And also combos with Turmer. I'll get to that later. And if you use something like Magic Planner on your trap Weathery patterns, you basically get it back, which effectively makes Magic Planner a +1 as opposed to break even. Right?
Yup.
Thunder Weathery Turmer is my second favorite Weathery in terms of utility.
Let me explain why.
You can swap any continuous spell or trap you control face up for a Weathery spell or trap from your deck. This combos with Sleet, which effectively makes Turmer's effect free.
What else?
And it lets you get rid of things like Skill Drain, Lose 1 Turn, Anti-Spell Fragrance, or whatever other continuous shit you decide to play in here.
Next!
Sunny Weathery Bengala, I do not like that much because the unique effect, the special summon itself, can only happen when it's in the graveyard. And also, if you don't have a Weathery spell or trap in your hand to place, you cannot use this effect at all because special summoning and placing one from your hand on the field is all one effect, which sucks
A lot!
But this is needed because it special summons itself. So if you use it as link material for Arciel, you can possibly bring it back and use Arciel's effects.
Possibly.
Polar Weathery Lampla has some really good artwork.
Facts!
I also like the fact that she can place a Weathery spell or trap from anywhere. And her protection effect is good too. What I don't like is she's level 6. And that effect to place a Weathery spell or trap from anywhere happens when normal summon. This bitch is a level 6. What the fuck? Konami!
You got some explaining to do.
You can special summon it with Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, or even Sunny Weathery pattern if you need to resort to that. But normal summoning this bitch?
Never.
Even with that being said, I think she's good enough to play in the deck. Mainly because we don't have a whole lot of Weathery to choose from. We don't really have any choice, to be honest with you. But with her, I'd only play one.
I guess.
Rainbow Weathery Arciel is so good! But how good it is brought down a little bit because of the archetype she belongs to. It requires 3 Weathery monsters. And Sunny is the only one that has a unique special summoning effect. If you use Link Material, you can bring it back. It's not impossible to summon Arciel in Weathery, obviously. But you rather keep your Weathery banished and then summon, then banish. You want to fuck with your opponent. So if you are in a position where you summon Arciel and still have things that are linked to Arciel, you should win the game.
Don't fuck it up.
Now to the Weathery patterns. Snowy Weathery pattern is the only one I believe to play 3 of because this searches everything in the archetype.
That's a fact.
And also this has no activation requirement. So if you have 3 Weatheries with this effect, you can banish more than one to search. You only search 1 card, but it doesn't restrict you from activating the effect 3 times. So when you search with 1, you can activate the other 2 in response. Whether you like to be banished, then come back. You would like to do this as often as you can. So that is why I believe you play
3 of them things.
Rain Weathery pattern is pretty good with anti-spell fragrance. Anti-spell requires players to set their spells a full turn before activating them, and Rain Weathery pattern bounces those same set spells. Outside of that, it is still decent. It lets you clear the way for your Weatheries to come back on the next turn. So I believe that the card is good and you need to play some number of them. I actually think you need to play all of the Weathery patterns, simply because we don't have a whole lot of choice in terms of which Weathery spell and traps we play. I'm doing 2 of every Weathery pattern other than Snowy. You play 3 of them things.
Clearly! No debating!
Cloudy Weathery pattern is probably the most surprising Weathery pattern out of the bunch, because all the other ones you can pretty much determine how good and or bad they are. Cloudy Weathery pattern has definitely surprised me for a few reasons. Reason number 1, it says current attack, not original. Second thing, this does not specify a particular monster.
What that mean?
You can target your monster and you can target preferably your opponent's monster. Combined with the fact that it isn't once a turn and it says current attack of the monster targeted, you can drop something really low. Why is this good? Because in Weathery, you typically have no monsters on field, right? Because you use the Weathery and banish them for the Weathery pattern's effects. So if you don't want to use your Drowning Mirror Force, you don't have to. You can drop something like a 5-headed dragon down to pint-sized. You don't have to waste your really good removal card on a 5-headed when you can just drop it by more than one time. And because it only requires a monster on field, it is the second easiest Weathery pattern effect to activate.
And I'm not lying!
Thunder Weathery pattern just happens to be that Weathery pattern that is very, very restrictive. It does give your Weatheries the ability to Neospacian Grand Mode monsters, which is really nice, but it is the most restrictive Weathery pattern effect.
So?
You play it, but you don't play 3.
That's right, I said it!
Sunny Weathery pattern to me is the worst one. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a use. If you tributed Arciel to negate a special summon or something, you can summon it with Sunny Weathery pattern, which is pretty good. But a lot of times, you want to keep your Weatheries on field to use the Weathery pattern effect or Arciel's effects to banish them.
Because the fact still remains.
You do not want to tribute even one. But if you tribute one, hopefully it's Sunny, because it's the only one that can special summon itself from the graveyard. I really do not like Sunny Weathery pattern, but sadly, because we don't have a whole lot of options here, I feel like you need to play it. But best believe, it is the worst one.
It's awful.
Aurora Weathery pattern is easier to trigger than Thunder Weathery pattern because it works for your opponent and you too. Sometimes you draw something you don't like, and it also works for when you draw during the draw phase. However, you need to keep in mind that it says exactly one card. With Upstart, this does not work. I learned the hard way because the last thing that happens is the life gain, which sucks, but it's something we have to deal with.
Damn it!
So now that I've talked about each individual Weathery card, I just want to say a little bit more. Weathery's priority is banishing them over and over and over again. You want to have multiple Weathery patterns out to give your Weatheries things that they can banish for given the situation. This is why I said Cloudy Weathery pattern is one of the best ones in terms of activation, because all it requires is a monster on field. Doesn't have to be your opponent. You can target your own monster. There will be times where you have a lot of Weathery patterns in one monster. That is the nature of how you play the deck. And you shouldn't be so worried about them getting destroyed because Sleet allows you to get them back. The problem with Weathery is that the monsters only do so much by themselves. And they are reliant on the Weathery patterns, obviously. And that is why there are things like Turmer that lets you swap out any continuous spell and trap for Weathery patterns. You need Weathery patterns in Weatheries. It is no good for you to summon a Weathery with no Weathery pattern. So you need to play a fair amount of Weathery patterns. I'm not saying you need to play 3 of each one, but you have to play all of them in some amount. It is sad, and it is rather unfortunate because Sunny Weathery pattern is fucking terrible. Given the inherent weakness, and you need to have Weathery patterns to do things, you need to play perhaps too many of them, which in turn makes your deck bad because you can't play so many outside cards. One of the tech cards that I like in the deck, other than Anti-Spell and Imperial Order maybe, and Skill Drain, lose 1 turn or whatever, is Solemn Scolding. And this is another reason why I said Cloudy Weathery pattern is one of the best ones. Because it prevents you from dying. If you play something, it doesn't even have to be Scolding. It can be Warning, it can be Strike, it can be anything that you decide to play. But the problem with it is that you can't play too many outside cards. Now you can try it if you want to. Again, this is just my opinion, but this is based on stuff that I've learned and based on how I like to play the deck. Now with that being said, I really like nature. I like natural occurring things. So I gravitated towards Weathery not necessarily because of the artwork, but it helped. And Lazula's blue. And even with me saying all this stuff that I've said in this video, it don't mean that this shit gonna be good. I'm not trying to attract people to it. I don't give a shit if you play it or you don't. I just know this. Spirit Warriors comes out in November. I'm getting that shit. I'm getting Weathery. Magic Bullets are cool, but fuck them. I want Weathery. So with that, thanks for watching. All I really ask for is if you would like to
Help me! Help me!
pay rent and make money to, not be homeless and things of that nature. All I really ask for is seconds out your day to click an advertisement. Watch one if they show up. Because, YouTube doesn't always show advertisements when you watch the shit. I understand. That's why I throw out the disclaimer.
And
My PayPal, my Patreon, and my Discord server link is in the description. Thank you very much in advance if you decide to do any of those things, but watching helps too, I guess. It is very much appreciated, and you have my gratitude, Tizzle. And also, you can't really forget, because the green screen here is what more or less made this video possible.
I appreciate you.